Hey, it's Justin Goff, and I'm here with Copy Accelerator member Jared Nations. Jared owns a really cool business in the financial newsletter niche. We're going to be diving in today how he kind of had a big breakthrough in the last year where it took his business from doing around 250K a month revenue to earlier this year he hit 500K. We're going to kind of dive into what he did to do that. Then we're also going to go back and kind of talk about what he did to actually build the company from scratch in the financial niche, which is not easy. If you know anything about the financial niche, it's pretty much dominated by Agora. There's very few kind of independent publishers in that niche, and Jared is one of them, and who's one of the few that's succeeding doing it. So, welcome and glad to have you on, man.
Thanks, Justin. Glad to be here. Glad to
Awesome.
represent Copy Accelerator.
So let's dive into one thing I'm actually very curious about. And I have not asked you yet. How has coronavirus affected your guys' offers?
Yeah. So early March, late February, the panic started to set in and the financial markets just started to take a nosedive. And so we got together as a team and we're like, okay, we need to focus on lifetime renewals and upsells because if we can get them to at least get into our kind of higher tier products, they're better customers and more likely to stick around, especially our lifetime upgrades. And so we had that meeting and we did all this work and we started selling a bunch of upsells and lifetime upgrades because we really thought that the panic in the financial markets would shut down our front end offers. But what actually happened is we had the opposite effect. We had more interest in our front end offers than I've ever seen. And it's really still continued into May. And so while we were kind of thinking from a business owner point of view, in my opinion, it feels like the coronavirus kind of gave a lot of people a kick in the ass that says, oh, wow, I really am not prepared financially. I haven't spent any time working on my finances or doing a plan for retirement or even learning about the stock market at all. And so I think that kind of inspired a lot of action from a lot of our customers and potential customers.
Right. So
Yeah.
let's backtrack a bit. I probably should explain this beforehand. So you sell financial newsletters mostly on the topic of dividend stocks, correct?
Yeah, that's our bread and butter is the dividend investing. It's kind of a sub niche of the entire financial sector. So we're branching out into options and we're working on a new newsletter right now in kind of like the growth stock investing space, but really dividends is our bread and butter right now.
I'm kind of curious. I've actually never heard this from you. How did you actually get into the financial niche? Because I know most of the people I know that have started financial companies came from one of the Agora companies and kind of
Yeah.
split off and started their own.
Yeah. So Brett, my business partner, actually started Investors Alley when he was 16. So 21 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. And he just started publishing stuff about the stock market and investing. And he kind of kept this blog up and it was all ad supported. And so when we teamed up back in 2014, he already had a big email list that was supported through ad revenue. And together we started the premium subscription publishing side of the business because really CPMs have dropped. They've been cut in half since 2014 on the advertising side. And so either we got really, really lucky or it was a really, really intelligent decision to move into the monthly and annual newsletter space.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's dive into, let's say that first 0 to 250K. Walk me through kind of what was the main focus. What were the things that like really moved the needle for you with that?
Yeah, it was a pretty slow and steady journey. And so we were really just kind of fishing through our internal house list for any buyers that were on there. We were crafting offers. And actually, in the very beginning, our best-selling offer was not in the dividend space. It was we called it small cap gems. It was in the small cap investing space. But then it sort of just flipped where we sent out a free article to our list called Buy and Hold These Dividend Stocks Forever. And it blew up. It got the most amount of sales we ever got in one day. And so we're like, okay, cool, we have something here. So we turned that into a lead generation offer. and we started shopping around. We started buying media. That's when I learned how to run Facebook ads. I think this was late 2015, something like that. And I took Jason Hornung's Facebook ads course. And I learned how to buy media, and that really kind of propelled us up to that next tier where we were running traffic, we were buying traffic, and we started getting, it wasn't too many. It was maybe like 10, 20 orders a day, something like that. But that really gave us the cash flow and the momentum to be able to invest back into the business, started building upsells, started building funnels, and moving from there.
So I'm curious, in those early days, what did your offers actually look like? Were you guys like decent at writing long form copy? Were you putting out BSLs? Like,
Yeah, we were still putting out not much copy because we always had contractors. I mean, we were maybe putting out a couple offers a year. And so that was mainly in my opinion, a focus of my lack of experience on like, okay, what actually drives the needle in a business? And after we got that big surge from that buy and hold this dividend stock forever lead gen promo, I was like, all right, cool. We need more promos. So I just went on a tear and I hired as many copywriters as possible. And I was like, we just need more and more and more, because basically 1 out of every 5 promos on the front end is good. And that's a good hit rate, 20%. And if we're only producing 5 a year, then we're not going to win. That's not possible.
yep.
Especially because, I didn't have the money to go and hire you or Stefan or someone like that who can just like, all right, just pull a winning promo out of the hat. I was working with, $5,000 a package writers, stuff like that. And so I was playing a volume game at that point.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things you said that were really interesting there. One was you guys were kind of going one way, and then as soon as something hit, which was that dividend article to your list, you kind of completely shifted gears.
Yeah.
Which was obviously really smart on your part. But I think the majority of business owners though are so stuck in their ways of like, no, we're selling this. This is what this company is going to be about.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have seen that as like, oh shit, we need to shift to this because this is what they really want.
Yeah. It was a light bulb moment for sure, because it was just, we send free content to our house list, almost every day now. And I wrote that headline for that article, didn't really think much about it. And then we just saw, I think we maybe got 60 orders in a day to our free list, which, we averaged around maybe 7 or 8 a day at that time. So it was like a big smack in the face. So it would definitely be irresponsible not to follow that.
Yeah, it's super smart on your part. And then the other thing you said, which is one of the things that took me a long time to learn, which was you said basically getting more offers out per year, basically taking more swings at it.
Mm-hmm.
We had that issue with Patriot Health Alliance where our main offer, Patriot Power Greens, was kicking ass, and it took so much of the resources in the company to like just keep it propelled and keep it going that we really slowed down on putting out other offers. And kind of the same thing that happened to you is we didn't have any other offers that finally could get over the hump and work on cold traffic. And that kind of hurt us in that last year. But that's one of the things that we talked about Agora a little bit. Agora is amazing at is like they
Yeah.
take more swings than anyone.
Yeah.
Like they're just
And
pumping out offers.
they pump out offers. And I've worked with a lot of copywriters from Agora. And what's interesting is they do pump out offers, but they'll have a writer write a piece in June of 2019 and it'll finally go live in June of 2020 because they have such an extensive review process, and it'll just sit on a publisher's desk for so long. And as a smaller business, we don't have that luxury. And so I try to turn around offers 1 a month at least. And I've been able to slow down a little bit from that because we built up an inventory of copy, and we basically figured out, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. And I would say in late 2018, we were kind of hit another ceiling in our business. You're maybe doing like between 100 and 150 a month. And I was thinking, I was like, all right, cool. How do we get to that next level? How do we break through again? And we would have kind of really big spikes in our revenue, and then we go down because we did maybe a product launch, something like that. And I was like, all right, 2019, I'm going to do a launch every single month. So I did a product launch every single month in 2019 on kind of a revolving schedule, and it was a hell of a lot of work, and we sold a ton, but it was interesting because I saw a lot of diminishing returns. So I'd run the same promo. We basically had 4 backends that we were running, and so I'd run one every 4th month. And by the end of the year, everybody had seen this offer for the same product 4 times. And we still made, a chunk of change each time, but we really diminished the amount. And so really in 2020, my focus has been, let's get our ad spend up on the networks. And we're spending more money right now in the ad networks than we've ever spent. I think we're going to do maybe like 50 or 60K on the ad networks. And it's mostly Facebook and Google right now. And then I'm retooling a lot of our products, and I'm really focusing on what I'm calling like this action benefit sequence. So I'm really trying to dial in the messaging of our products so that when somebody joins, there's a very clear action benefit. Like we have this new product called Weekly Income Accelerator. And when they place this trade, it's a covered call, they receive a cash deposit into their bank account, and they earn between like 1% to 3% per trade. And they do 4 trades a month. So that's why they get Weekly Income Accelerator. And so we launched that a couple of weeks ago. And it's the same product. I just renamed it, and I did a little bit of rebranding and changed the focus. So it was very, very clear when somebody joined, if they take this action, this is what they get. And it just crushed it. It actually did amazing. We sold a ton of them, and it has really funded a lot more cash flow into the business to invest in new marketing, invest in new lead gen. And now we're starting to look at acquisitions. Like, okay, cool. Where can we focus on maybe buying distressed businesses, or maybe buying new lists, buying new offers, and funding our SaaS business, Divcaster.
So let's go back to, you mentioned you're buying media on Facebook, Google.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people in the financial niche struggle with Facebook and Google basically because of the compliance stuff.
Yeah.
Are you running those mostly to article landers, squeeze page kind of things?
So Google, we are running straight to the squeeze page. So we're capturing the lead, but we send it to a different URL. It's kind of like a microsite, because I'm actually pretty sure Investors Alley is banned on Google still. But I mean, it's been so long that we'd rather run into a microsite and just not have to worry about it. And so they opt into a email landing page, and then we send them directly to a sales page, and it's just a text sales letter. And then on Facebook, we're doing the same. And I've actually never had any trouble on Facebook for our account. Our account's pretty old. I've never gotten my ad account fully banned. I've gotten it shut down, suspended, but they always put it back on. And I'm not sure if that's because we don't, I'm not saying in my copy that you're going to make 1,000,000% returns in 3 weeks. Our copy's pretty conservative compared to Agora.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's go to, so you are at kind of 250K revenue per month for a while.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that kind of broke you through that ceiling to where you got to 500?
Yeah. I think one of the main focuses of my time over the last year has really been consistency of media buying. And so we would have kind of spurts where we'd go and buy a bunch of media, and then we didn't really have good tracking. So we didn't know how much money we made back. So we were like, oh my God, we just spent $100,000 and I think we made money. Maybe we didn't. So we'd wait 3 months, and then we'd do the same thing again. And so I was like, all right, this isn't working. Okay. So we had to develop better tracking, and we finally got good enough tracking to where by source, I could find out my AOV, my average order value, and I could find out my CPA and all the metrics you need to actually run profitable campaigns buying media. So I was like, all right, cool. Our average order value for our dividend funnel was like $120. And so I was like, all right, well, that's not going to work. We can't our CPA is close to $200. So I was like, all right, we need to boost that AOV up a lot. So then I started working on our upsells. So I got our first upsell to convert a lot higher, and I actually boosted the price from $197 to $297. So we go $49 front end offer for our annual newsletter, and then we do $297 for a 1-year subscription to what we call the Insider subscription. And it's the same newsletter. They just get more access, more content, and they get a couple other features like text alerts, stuff like that. So it kind of really dials in on what you talk a lot about your upsells, which is just more of the same. You already opted in for the 1 year. Now you get the upgraded premium version. Yep. And we still get like a 25% take rate on that. And then from there, we take them to a $499 bundled lifetime. So it's kind of that classic Agora, but we do a little bit of a different spin on it. So we do a lifetime of both the products they just purchased. And that still gets like a 30% take rate on the people who took the first upsell. And so really dialing in our upsells was really what allowed us to buy more media, because I got that AOV up. So our AOV, depending on the source, is anywhere between 160 to 220. And so that really gets us that immediate cash flow to keep funding ads.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's such an important point. I remember Dan Kennedy saying this, God, years and years ago in one of his books, and he's like, whoever can pay the most for a customer is the one who's going to end up winning.
Yeah, and I know you brought it up earlier, but it's important to talk about is the competition between Agora, because Agora, we're a much smaller company. We don't have Bill Bonner funding our ads. We can't go in the hole for 6 months. Some of these Agoras, they spend $1 million a month, and they don't care if they make it back in 6 months. And so our entire focus has to be on where can we compete. And we've been able to compete in Google, we've been able to compete on Facebook, and we've been able to compete, in my opinion, by providing a higher touch experience. So we give a lot more access to our products and our editors and our analysis and our research. And I focus hardcore on customer service. And a lot of the people who subscribe to us, they'll send us emails and be like, this is such a better, smoother experience than other newsletters I bought. You guys actually respond to my emails, stuff like that. So from my perspective, we have to provide a better experience in order to compete with a higher budget that Agora can spend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Agora can just churn and burn customers. And
yeah. They have, high 6-figure buyers lists, 7-figure just free emails. And their strategy is they go straight for the sale. And a lot of them are moving more to kind of our method, which is we get the lead, and then we kind of put them through a gauntlet and a drip series to convert them. But most of Agora just go straight for the sale. And I'm going to share it here because I'm going to share it, but I'm pretty sure that's why they run into all the issues on the ad networks, is because they just go straight for the sale. And Facebook doesn't really like that because it just goes straight into the hardcore sales copy.
Yep.
Where if here's a free report, it's going to share a couple stocks and why we think they're good. Facebook's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing I feel like as an outsider watching kind of what a lot of the Agora companies do is that they've done one thing one way for so many years that they're always just trying to figure out how to keep doing things that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's obviously successful for them. They're a $1 billion company when you combine all the branches together. But that's one thing I've kind of noticed from the outside is that I think they're very stuck in the ways of how they do things and not that open to really branching out.
Yeah. Another company in the space that is just absolutely crushing it, that's independently owned, is Raging Bull.
Yep.
And their bread and butter is YouTube. And they just acquire tons and tons of customers through YouTube. And we're finally starting to get into YouTube ads because we just never really had someone who was a good face for video. We have a lot of faces for radio. And so our content creators are great. I love them. They're awesome. They're not going to see this video. um, but that's a wide open area of opportunity in the financial space, just because not the people who are doing it well. I mean, there's just so much inventory. It's just not as competitive as some of the other spaces.
Well, one thing I like about you, and this just kind of popped into my mind, is that a lot of the people I know in the financial space, and I have a ton of friends that work at the various Agora kind of branches, um, they all just kind of live in that world and don't live in any other worlds. Like they're not paying attention to what's working in health or biz op, or like it's literally Agora just encompasses everything. They'll pay attention to what's going on at Stansberry and Money
Yeah.
Map and whatever, but they don't look outside that at all. Whereas I feel like you, especially obviously being in Copy Accelerator, you get to see a much more holistic view of like, oh, this is working in the health niche. Oh, this is working in whatever. Uh, and I think that's a huge, huge help.
Yeah, I can't. There's some either book or article I read on marketing and business development in general, and it basically talked exactly about that. Is like, there's millions of really really smart minds in all different industries that are all kind of trying to figure out the same problem: is how do I speak to my customers, and how do I convey my benefits, and how do I talk about my products in a way that's compelling and excites people. And I I just enjoy learning about that. I enjoy learning about how other companies do it. And so much of it can apply to so many different industries. It's not just all right, Agora is doing that, so we have to do it too. And I actually found that because we're smaller and we have a different business structure on, how we make money, how we earn cash flow, and how we actually take profit, that modeling our business after Agora, which I definitely tried to do, is it doesn't work. Really, that's the shorten all of it, because they have a very very aggressive marketing. They can take a 50% refund rate on a back end product and be totally fine, and they just have a lot more human resources than we do. So we actually moved to no refunds on our back end products, which lowered our conversion rate, but saved us a bunch of money on credit card fees, saved us a bunch of money with our processor, because we don't have huge refund rates, we don't have huge chargeback rates. We actually have very low chargeback rates, and uh, that's been a really big help. Is okay, we can have an independent publishing business that does not have the same business model as Agora and still do really really well.
Yep. That's right. I mean, it's super smart. You've taken the general, I guess, model that Agora does and tweaked it to what has really worked for you.
Yeah, we still sell newsletters, and we still kind of have a similar hierarchy of our products and how it works. And then another way where we have to be a lot more careful is the opportunity cost of time. I think this is something every entrepreneur, business owner has to really focus on: is what what am I focusing on today, and at the expense of what else could I be focusing on. I see this happen a lot with people who are so worried about how their website looks, and they spend tens of hours just focusing on their website when it doesn't really matter, at least at that point of their business. Is, hey, by not focusing on your offers and your upsells and your product, and even investing in new products, you're losing a lot. Maybe it's not in immediate revenue, but it's in lost growth, lost future potential. So that's something
Yep.
I'm ruthless about. I am known to not answer emails and just leave my inbox totally unanswered, because I'm like, listen, I got bigger things to worry about. I'm frying bigger fish right now. You guys can deal with it, figure it out yourself.
That's smart. I mean, it's super smart. There's only so many hours in a day,
Yeah,
and you have to prioritize the two or three things that really move the needle.
yeah, yeah. And so for us right now, the things that are moving the needle is ad networks, and making sure we always have fresh copy, fresh creative, and nothing, you know how it goes. You can have an ad that's working one day and the next day it just totally tanks. So we're very, very on top of that. We have a weekly snapshot that goes for all of our ad networks, and we really see how everything's performing. And then On top of that, I'm working on our AOVs. I'm always trying to get a higher AOV. I'm always trying to get a higher conversion rate on our upsells and price testing on our upsells. And then lastly, my other main focus is our software app. And we're seeing a lot of synergies between software and the content marketing and publishing business. And so the software really is a tool to help retain our customers. And so basically this piece of software we developed, dividend investors can upload their portfolio and they get to track a variety of metrics specific to income investors. And it really helps with retention because the second they join, I give them a free subscription to Divcaster. And then they'll upload all of their stocks that they're buying as they get into the newsletter. And then they're like, okay, they get 60 free days. And before it ends, they're like, oh, well, I already have all these stocks in here. I might as well renew and pay the $99 a year. And then there's almost like a positive feedback loop is the more they invest in the product, the less chance of them refunding because they can see the stocks, they can look at them, they can actually kind of measure performance by how much money they've made from the stocks. Besides, it just makes it more in their face. We send them notifications too, so it almost like gamifies it a little bit. And I think that's a really untapped potential for us. I mean, one of my main goals is to get that to 1,000 new users a month by the end of the year. Should be about 100K in revenue.
Okay, so that was going to be, that leads into my next question, which is, what are the next kind of 6 to 12 months looking like for you? What's like the big rocks?
The Divcaster is a big one. I don't have a lot of human resources on it. It's me and some contract developers, and that's about it. So we're looking to see if maybe we hire someone to actually produce content and kind of work on that. That's a big driver of growth for us. And we're also focusing on a new brand we're starting called Stock Junkies. And there's this air in the stock market right now. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's Davey Day Trader, the Barstool president, and his like army, his legion. We're really looking to tap into that excitement around the stock market and in general, just tap into a wider, bigger audience. I mean, this also comes directly from you is how do we create a product with just massive, wide appeal? And so I'm actually trying to kind of build off of the success we've had building funnels in the dividend space and the option space and move into just kind of the general investing space and develop a product that has a lot of high appeal to a very large audience. Like dividends are great, but it's a sub niche. And we do very, very well in that niche. And I can see that business being like a $5 million business on its own, but I don't know if we can really grow it much higher. Hold on, I'm gonna let my dog out. Come inside. Yep. Oh, she was whining. Yeah, so I don't really see us growing that specific business into a $10 million a year business. Income buyers are, by definition, a little bit more conservative, so they're not buying $2,000 trading products or services like that. And so another thing too is the traditional newsletter buyer, especially in the dividend space, is like 65 years and older. And I'm 28. I'm a millennial. I would like to serve people my own age and around my own age. And I think there's a really big growth opportunity in that. I don't think it's the same exact business model, but I think there is a business model to actually tap into that market and be very successful.
Gotcha. So we've talked a lot about stuff you're doing well, stuff that's really helped. One thing I want to dive into is what's some stuff in your business right now that you're actually kind of struggling with, like that you feel like either
we're hitting that point where organization is coming into focus. And, I'm sure you know this, a lot of everything lives in my head. All the processes, where everything is, how it all works. And it's just becoming a big tangled mess. And we have no SOPs. We have no documentation of anything. All of our HTML files and ad creatives are just scattered across Google Drives all over the internet. And so it's hard to hire and train new people when we don't have kind of like a database of, hey, here's how we do things. Here's where everything is. Here's our process. Here's our everything. And so that's something that is on my list of to-dos, but just never quite makes it to the top because it's kind of like a maintenance money thing.
Yep.
Where it's like, all right, we need this, but it's not going to bring in new revenue. And so that's something that, and also it's just not how I think. I'm not a kind of organizational kind of person. And I'm definitely not a person who like uploads files into a neat Google Drive. And so that's a big struggle for us right now. And on that note, hiring is a bigger struggle for us right now. We're really looking for someone to be a director of marketing and take a lot of my work off of my plate on, okay, here's how our funnel's doing, here's our conversion rates, okay, this upsell dropped in conversion, we need new copy here. And so I really need someone who can take a lot of that work off my plate and really be the master of marketing for us, who knows everything that's going on, what's out of date, what needs new copy, because we're running into a complexity issue where we have so many offers running, and I've automated a lot of our email marketing through our CRM, but what's out of sight is usually out of mind. So I have these marketing automation email series going out, and I'm sure it's sending out really out of date copy right now, and I'm just not even aware of it. And so, so those are two things that struggling is a strong word, but that are pain points for us right now.
Yeah, challenges.
Yeah. And then another thing that hasn't materialized, but it's on my radar, and I think it's on the radar of a lot of people who are in the media buying business that to sustain their businesses, is the election. We saw a big increase in media costs, and we saw a big decrease in conversions starting in like June of 2016. We haven't seen it yet, which is awesome, but I think we all know that this election is going to suck up a lot of people's time and attention and focus. And so that's something on our horizon that we've navigated well so far. Our entire strategy for 2020 was try to book an entire year's worth of revenue in the first 6 months. And we're last year we did 2.6 on the subscription side, and we just crossed 2 mid-month. So
nice.
we basically did that. We almost did our entire 2019 revenue in the first 6 months, and it's not even over yet. So we completed that goal. But as you know, I do business because I think it's fun, and I love the challenge of problem solving, figuring out why things aren't working, finding out new strategies to make things work. I'm almost obsessive about it in a lot of ways.
All right. So one question I want to ask you, which I love asking other entrepreneurs, how are you when it comes to the work-life balance?
I actually would say that I'm really good about that. I don't know if it's because I've always worked from home. So I've always kind of taken breaks throughout the day. I'll definitely, my usual work schedule is I'll start work around 9:30. After I wake up, I walk my dog, I'll make some coffee. And then during quarantine, last couple of months, I've really gotten into breath work and meditation. So I'll do like 20 minutes of breath work, meditation, and then I'll do 20 minutes of what's called expressive writing, which basically you just write for 20 minutes, whatever comes to your mind. And I found that's been a really good way to kind of just like boost my creativity and get me in that creative mindset. And then I'll usually start my day. And then I usually don't stop working until about 3 or 4, where I'll go work out. I'll come home, walk the dog, again, clean up anything. And I'm usually done working by 6, 7.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, now that I think about it, I'm like, okay, that's a really solid day still.
Yeah, that's pretty
And then,
damn good, man.
on the flip side of that, I actually enjoy working on Saturdays and Sundays. I love getting up on a Saturday and like crushing some work because nobody's bothering me. So, okay, here's the new answer to your question. I think the work-life balance, it's not so much, here's my work time, here's my lifetime, I actually think I have a very integrated approach where they kind of just weave together. And I think that's a benefit of being an entrepreneur is it's not like I drive to an office, I sit in the desk for 8 hours and I drive home and like my life starts. I mean, this is my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the big issue is what a lot of entrepreneurs get into, which has always been an issue for me, where it's that need to always go back to the computer. Like there's always more you could be doing. So
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh
like
yeah.
if you end your day at 6, like you could always get back on the computer at 7 and check the ads and check the stats and
Oh
check
yeah.
whatever.
Yep. Yeah. And I definitely fall into that habit where I like check our CRM at 10 o'clock at night to see if another $1,000 came in, and it's almost like habitual, like checking Facebook or something, I'm like, oh, did we get a little bit more money? Especially when we launch. I really enjoy that.
That's
Um,
I always joke that the most exciting part of this business is checking the stats.
yeah. Yeah. My girlfriend, she runs her own business too. And she's a solopreneur. It's just her. And we have a very different experience of work because, I have a whole team supporting me. And that's been a game changer too. When I went from the mentality of I have to do everything on my own to how do I leverage and utilize human capital in order to get things done and really unwinding a lot of that control, where I'm okay if it doesn't get done exactly how I want it to get done, but I don't have to do it. And that also goes back into that opportunity cost of time, which is a really huge focus of mine.
I mean, it's a great point. Really, I learned this a while ago that every company at some point you have to make the decision if you're going to be a lean, kind of me and a couple of freelancers kind of company, or are you going to build this into a real company where there's 15 employees or
Yeah.
whatever. You have to make that decision at some point. Like the stuff I'm doing right now, I'm very much in the other field where I'm like, it's me. I have an assistant. I hire some freelancers to do stuff, and that's it. Because at this point, that's really what I want.
Yeah.
It's really all I need. But if you're trying to build a company like you're building, that's gonna crap out at some point trying to use that model.
Yeah. And that was a conversation Brett and I had maybe a couple of years ago, which is like, what do we want? And really kind of our path forward is 15 to 20 employees, mid to low 8 figures, and cash flow it and use that cash flow to buy other businesses and kind of do that, because the multiples in the publishing industry are garbage. You get like 3-4 times net income, and it's not usually worth it. That's another reason we moved into the software space. You just get higher multiples.
Yep.
And that's really our path forward is, okay, 15, 20 employees. I don't want 100 employees. I'm not trying to run a massive 9-figure business unless it really wants to happen. If that's what wants to happen, cool. I'm going to go for the ride, but that's not what I prefer.
I know one of my buddies who runs a 30 to $35 million business that now has, I think, 75, 80 employees. I remember one time we were just chatting and he was like, I really, really miss the days when I had 10 employees. He's like, I actually used to make more money personally then. He's like, now I got 8 times the headaches, 8 times the employees. He's like, I'm starting to question if this was worth it.
Yeah, it's always such an interesting strategy in business, because there is a strategy to operating a business. It doesn't always mean more revenue equals more dollars in your pocket. It's not an easy formula like that. And it certainly doesn't mean more money, less problems. I mean, I can imagine having 80 employees. I'm not known for being the like softest touch manager. And just because my experience of how I learn and how I operate, I'm pretty high intensity, very direct. I learn things quickly, and I'm very independent. And so when I have someone who I'm working with who's not that way, it's very tough for me. So I can only imagine having 10 times more of that amount of people. I'm just like, just do the freaking work. Just do it. Figure it out. Stop asking me questions.
Sounds like me as a manager.
It's definitely a big growth opportunity for me, but like we're talking about, I'm not looking to run 100-person team and become the next Agora. That's
Yeah.
not in my highest excitement.
One of the biggest things, kind of on that note, one of the biggest things that ever the kind of eye opener for me so in the old company in Patriot Health Alliance, I didn't manage any of the employees because they were at our Nashville office where my partner Alan kind of managed the whole team. So I didn't have to do any of that. I could kind of just stay in my lane marketing. But I've had like multiple employees over the years with assistants and stuff like that. The one thing though that really helped me was eventually just understanding and learning that they're not like you and
Yeah.
they don't think like you.
Hmm.
I used to expect all of our employees to, like, if something wasn't done on Friday and we needed to have it up like Monday, I just expected they would be working all weekend on it to get it done. And like, it took me like 3 years or I'm like, oh, I would do that, but
Yeah.
that's not how they think. And you kind of just
Yeah.
have to be a little like gentler with them and understanding like, yeah, you would do that, but they're not you.
Yeah. And that's such a key point too, because I feel like I have put a lot of suffering on myself by projecting my expectations for how I show up onto other people, in business and in life. And I do it with my friends all the time. My friends who maybe make 60K a year working a job. I'm like, dude, come learn internet marketing. You can make so much more money. You could just run ads for people and make $100,000 a year. And it's so easy. But they just have no desire, or they can't tolerate the risk
Yep.
curve of working for themselves or being responsible for how much money they make. I mean, honestly, at this point, I can't imagine anything else. I really just couldn't imagine like having a normal job where how much I earn is decided by somebody else and not by how well I performed or how well our offers are doing or how successful the business is.
Right. Awesome, man. So let's wrap this up. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything. Steph and I have been super pumped to see your growth over the last, I don't know, when did you join Copy Accelerator? September?
September,
Uh,
yeah.
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 I mean, it's been awesome to see your growth, and I'm really excited to see where you take it because I feel like you got such a good foundation for where you guys are at now, and you are growing. So I'm really pumped to see where you go over the next year.
Yeah, we're really excited. And honestly, like one little nugget of shift from Copy Accelerator in September was able to help propel us so far. I think that's what's so powerful once you reach at least a certain point in your business is just that one tip of, oh, I didn't think of it that way, or, oh, let me go run this test. And it's really catapulted a lot of momentum for us, especially on the ad networks. So investment has paid off 10 times over.
Awesome, man. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Appreciate you jumping on. Appreciate you sharing your story today. I think a lot of people are gonna get a ton out of this. So that was
Thank you. I
awesome.
enjoyed it. A lot of
Awesome,
fun.
man.
Cool. Well, I'll see you soon.
Later.